Good morning. I am absolutely delighted to be here this morning with you and to share something that is very near and dear to my heart. Some of you know me well and know that is true. Promises, 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 vows, vows, vows. We spend a lifetime doing this. We take marriage vows. We take swearing in vows for public service. We vow to promise ourselves and our talents and gifts to various organizations and programs and even churches. We promise to do things for friends. We promise to do things for people we love. In my case, there are two vows that I have taken in my life that have contributed a great deal to the direction that I am taking my life. One is my baptismal vows, and the second was my ordination vows. One I took 84 years ago. I love being around. And almost 26 years ago, I took a set of examination vows. What is interesting about the baptismal vows, even though I took them when I really was a little child, in our denomination, the Episcopal Church, every time there is a baptism, we do it in community. And so we repeat those vows all the time. All the time. And I want to share what I promised, my parents promised, when I was baptized. Will you seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving your neighbor as yourself? And will you strive for justice and peace among all people and respect the dignity of every human being? We repeat that and repeat it and repeat it. And in my ordination vows to the diaconate, which, by the way, is an equal order to the priesthood in the Episcopal Church, just a different call. My call is beyond those doors to the margins where people I love live. But here's what I heard in my ordination vows. God now calls you to a special ministry of servanthood. And in the name of Jesus, you are to serve all people, particularly the poor, the weak, the sick, and the lonely. You're to make Jesus and his redemptive love known by your word and example to those among whom you live, work, and worship. And you're to interpret to the church the needs, concerns, and hopes of the world. And at all times, your life and teaching are to show others that in serving the helpless, they are serving God himself. Whew. I began to wonder long ago what kept me from doing, because I kept getting a little nudge about where I think God was calling me. But as I reflect back on it, these are the things that come to mind that kept me from doing. Lack of self-confidence. I don't know how to do this. I mean, who, what, and will I encounter? What if I don't have an answer to a person's question? Is this going to be dangerous? Will I experience rejection? And will it matter that I do this? To whom? To me? Well, then, what led me to do? Well, I found somebody in my life is pretty big nudger, pretty big challenger. And after 5 years, after I was ordained, I finally succumbed to, okay, you're calling me to serve those who are behind bars. I'll look for a way to do it. Could I find the way? No. It took me, again, over 5 years. But that persistence, that nudge, finally won. For almost 20 years, I have been visiting inmates at the Gallatin County Detention Center in Bozeman, Montana. How in the world did this ordained deacon convince the powers to be that I, who is a she and ordained, be allowed to go in and serve? And what have those inmates taught me about the power of transforming love working in my life and theirs? This story begins in late February 1989. I'm in the Honorable Joe Gary's courtroom to finalize my divorce. I arrived too early for civil cases to be heard, and as I take my seat, I see 4 Gallatin County inmates in orange jumpsuits, wrists and ankles shackled, standing before the judge. I move closer to my attorney and whisper in his ear, "These guys are creeping me out." I'm thinking surely they are a dangerous lot, and fear grips me to my very core. Fast forward to fall of 2005, and on a Sunday morning, as I do as a deacon, I proclaimed a gospel from Matthew 25 that said, "Where were you when I was in prison? Hungry, naked." And as I turned around and went back to the altar to put the gospel book on it, here's what I heard, literally. I want you in that place. I want you in that place. Stop ignoring me. I soon found myself meeting with the jail commander at the Gallatin County Detention Center, who, by the way, is Brian Gukin. He is Brian Gukin. He was the jail commander. He's now head of the Department of Corrections, offering to visit inmates with no particular agenda except to listen. He, with no fuss, gave his permission. And on December 26, 2005, I walked to the front door of that dump that has now been torn down and asked for strength, courage, and wisdom, and entered a world about which I knew next to nothing. 6 inmates came to visit that night, a call obeyed, and my life of passionate service to those in prison began. I began the journey of seeing prisoners I've never seen before. Sean is accused of murder. He's in his early 20s, a former student at Montana State University in Bozeman, a former member of the MSU Bobcat football team, a drug addict, flashy drug dealer, funny, and has a smile that is very contagious. He possesses the most beautiful hands I've ever seen. I cannot resist telling him this. His long, elegant fingers surely have received a football easily. We visit weekly for months. I ask him to teach me some football plays. I tell him that the game befuddles me, and so he draws 4 plays, and during one of our visits moves his chair beside me and teaches me some football, a game he dearly loves. He's a patient and gentle teacher. He also loves to share his faith with me. Share some pretty amazing insights, and coming from a criminal? I wonder about this criminal image. He isn't acting like one. Somehow in my mind, he doesn't look like one. Somewhere along the line, he tells me that before the age of 9, he had been in 69 foster homes. A criminal? A survivor? Or a possessor of heart and soul? I learn over the course of our visits that he's the primary peacemaker in his very crowded unit at the jail. He is never written up for infractions of the rules. He has the respect of the center's correctional officers, and over the months we visit, he becomes my teacher about heart and soul. Indeed, he has them both. He's become a friend. He is judged to be an accomplice in a murder, and he's sentenced to 50 years in prison. I think of him often. Robert is a drug addict in his early 30s, a Native American belonging to the Crow tribe in Montana. I met him many times over almost 10 years of his coming and going at the detention center. He's bright, very respectful, an amazing poet, gifted with native wisdom and smart. But by his own admission, he cannot give up taking drugs. And once more, he doesn't want to. I often wonder if his addiction will cause his early death. And the thought makes me sad. And I wonder today if it has. Our conversations are lively, enlightening, sometimes gentle, often full of laughter. He teaches me much about his native culture and the ways in which one builds trusting relationships with his people. These take time to develop, and I must never force an invitation to become a friend. I need to be invited to be one, and he does. His love, his deep understanding, and respect of his native spirituality inspires interesting conversations about our mutual faith and our Creator. I soon learn that his love and belief in Jesus is true and runs deep. His understanding of how the two complement and merge together impact me in ways in which I cannot describe. During our visits, he always sings to me. Some songs in Lakota and some in Cree. His singing comes from his heart and his soul, and most of the time I close my eyes while he sings. But there are a few moments when I peek to see him rocking gently with his eyes closed as he addresses the Creator of all things. I have an invitation from him to attend a pipe ceremony. I thank him and tell him that my only agenda is to sit with him and learn and understand. He smiles and assures me that this will be just fine. I look forward to that day. I do wonder if it will ever come. I never expected to meet a prisoner like him. I'm grateful that he's entered my life. Sarah is accused of attempted deliberate homicide and aggravated burglary, diminutive, in her late 50s. She's a talented art teacher, jewelry maker, and lover of beautiful rocks. Sarah is a victim of a serious brain injury. When I visit her, I ask if she's willing to tell me about her charge. When I first visit her, I ask if she's willing to tell me about her charge. Again, she tells me that she cannot remember the details surrounding the crime for which she is accused. I visit her regularly over many months at the center as she waits for her trial to begin. And I find myself often wondering if a defense is feasible in her case. It will be a tough one. My time with her is spent listening, caring, and not judging. I'm in the courtroom on the day of her sentencing. The testimony given against her is hard-spoken, and she gets 100 years and will be eligible for parole at the age of 84. She now resides at Montana's Women Prison in Billings, Montana. And she's asked that I come and visit, and I do. A heart and a soul, she has both. She writes in a letter to me, I'm taking Tai Chi and I really like it. It's so relaxing. I never thought I would enjoy it, but I do. So I keep trying new things. They also have art classes here once a month, sponsored by the Yellowstone Art Museum. I sign up for those. They only take a limited number of participants, so it's never a sure thing if I get to go or not. Good to hear from you, Roxy. Looking forward to seeing you. Keep me in your prayers. Always, Sarah. And finally, Susan, 20 years old when I meet her at the detention center in October 2024. Her mother has died recently. She's grieving her death. She's charged with vehicular homicide involving a young high school student from a local community. She's edgy. She's scared. She's just plain negative, and shows all of this in my initial conversation with her. As a side note, inmates must request a visit. You cannot go in and just go see anybody. She tells me that she's been in the hospital for some time, healing from some pretty serious injuries she sustained in the event. I sense that even with all that is facing her in law enforcement, judicial arenas, she is somewhat relieved to have someone interested in seeing her. As is my way during our first visit, I don't ask about her charge. This will come during my visit with her this late past December. Early on during one of our weekly visits, I get a feeling that she might be okay with me as a chaplain offering what might be consoling words to her, and she agrees for me to share. I do. In the weeks that follow, I begin to see just how my showing up week after week, my caring, just might be having a positive impact on her. The power of caring, a caring presence, my showing up to see her begins to show itself. She's smiling more often, and by the way, she has a gorgeous smile. She's less and less edgy, less and less scared, negative. Conversations are turning to what board games she loves. Her favorite memories of Thanksgivings. Delicious meals with the best macaroni dish ever and sweet potato pie. And she happily tells me about some visits from an aunt and uncle who are very supportive. She becomes an inmate laborer in the laundry with all the privileges that come with being one. And I visited her this last Friday, and she will now be going to trial on July 7th. In our most recent conversation, she tells me about what happened on the night of the event, and I listen. The last thing she remembers is putting her truck in drive. Nothing about the incident remains in her mind, and I suggest that she might want to do a couple of things to prepare about going to trial. Like about writing down what she's taking away from all of this. How will this situation play into her life in the future? How will she share with others just how this journey has marked her life in positive ways? Perhaps forever. And she read those comments to me this past Friday. When I wrote this, she thought that would be a good idea. Sean, Robert, Sarah, Susan, my teachers about heart and soul, for it's undeniably true that each of us has them both. These and all the other prisoners whom I have been called to serve all these many years, whom I never imagined I would come to know. In fact, I didn't want to see them, have taught me that we, all of us, can experience a transformative kind of love that exists within and all around us. I shall always be grateful that they entered my life to show me the power of that love working in my life. And touched by that transformative love, I continue to share it with those I care so deeply about, in the hope that this love will truly transform their precious lives too. What's the payoff of doing? Well, first of all, I realized I can do this, and I do it well. Most days it feels right, this using my gifts and talents. The feedback I get from those I serve, it's good. Reverend Roxy, you're here, yay. And I found a peace, a joy, and a deep compassion in serving the least of these that is completely beyond my understanding. I hearken back to my vows, my baptismal vows, and my ordination vows often. And it continues to be the foundation, they both do, of my life. And I believe from the bottom of my heart that I live a life completely blessed because I answered a call. What we say, do we do? Why do? Why not? So be it.